Did you know that starting at the end of 2015 through 2017, Flat Earth was one of the top searched terms in the USA, let alone the world? While most of you were falling for the political charades, the rest of us were trying to discover the true nature about our world. Even Google mentioned it during their commercial. Do you remember this? Why would Google be promoting this?
As a joke?
As a joke? No. We know why. They were panicking. Panicking because the platform they purchased 10 years ago was collapsing with truth. The powers that be would not allow that.
As we want to provide users with authoritative, trustworthy information.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I only have a minute and a half, and I don't really need to hear what you're trying to provide. I want to know how you're dealing with all these conspiracy theorists on your platform.
So the first way is by demoting low-quality content and promoting more authoritative content, and the second is by providing more transparency for users. So we're introducing boxes that provide factual information at the top of results that have shown themselves to turn up a lot of information that is counterfactual, such as searching for the Earth is flat on YouTube, where you see a lot of...
Your response is to put a box saying, nope, the Earth is not flat.
Correct.
Okay.
So instead of deleting all of the millions of videos we have made, they simply decided to bring in their puppets to reiterate the agenda at stake.
We are already sufficiently motivated to invest the necessary resources and people in addressing this threat.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
The Earth being flat is getting out of control. Can you please help?
Can you please help? When you stand on the shoulders of those who came before, you might just see far enough to realize the Earth isn't flat.
1 + 1 is?
2.
What color is the sky?
Blue.
And the Earth is?
Round. Just like it is here.
This float celebrates flat Earth theory that is spreading ironically around the
World and its possible roundness.
Spinning.
Now they are talking about it. They want you to search for it, because they already changed their algorithm to be set up in their favor.
What is this trash?
None of this tells you our side of the story. These are all videos they put together, so you can watch and learn nothing. Nothing that any of us would show you. Like here, have you ever seen a time lapse of the sun? Does it look like the Earth is rotating backwards and the sun is still? Or does it look like our sun is simply moving across our sky, traveling away from your perspective? Again, but with some inversion. You can clearly see the sun, not only decreasing its size, but heading towards its next destination with a slight turn before it disappears from your line of sight. While Google would make sure when you type in flat Earth that nothing like this would ever pop up, many agree the science regarding our sun is far from settled.
We're told that the sun is a massive ball of burning gas 93 million miles away. But if that were true, then all the light that arrives here would be parallel because it's so far away. And it has to be parallel because one of the most often cited supposed globe proofs is Eratosthenes' experiment between Alexandria and Syene, by which he calculated the size of the Earth. For that calculation to be accurate, the light must come down parallel. The only problem is that that's not what we see. If you go out on a sunny day with broken cloud, what you'll see is that light comes down at angles, diverging angles. And that means that we can follow those light rays back to the source and triangulate the sun's height above the Earth, proving that the sun isn't millions of miles away. But we can also perform physical experiments that prove that these crepuscular rays, as they're called, can only be recreated with a light source that is small and close.
It doesn't take a genius to understand that the further the light source goes up, the more the sun rays would spread out and become parallel. The reason you'd even think that the sun...
If the Earth was flat, wouldn't it be sunny all the time? I mean, have they ever even thought about it?
Well, if you'd let me finish, The reason you'd even think the sun would be visible from anywhere on Earth is because of the images they have shown you. No one promoting this bull stands for truth. You can keep believing in your fantasy gas ball 93 million miles away.
You can keep believing in your fantasy gas ball.
While we keep experimenting to try and figure out what the sun actually is, and how close it could be. With a local hotspot, it should be easy to comprehend that the sun is small and close to you.
To put that in perspective, imagine a table 2 meters wide in a completely dark room, and you're holding a small but very bright light bulb, 3.4 millimeters across, and you are holding it about 31 centimeters above the table. What you'd see is a circular pool of light directly on the table, beneath the light bulb. But on the other side of the table, it would be in darkness. Now, it seems to our mind that if you were on the other side of the table, you would see the light because it's, above the table. But that's not true, because on that part of the table, it's in darkness, meaning that the light isn't physically reaching that part of the tabletop.
Your senses are correct.
We're also told that the sun sets because as the Earth rotates us away from the sun, it's actually obscured by the physical curvature of the Earth. That's not what we see.
What we see is a local sun that is taking its local light with it. What happened to the horizon glowing across half of the world? Most sunsets are already fading through pollution, dander, chemtrails, and fog. Plus, refraction will always make the sun seem like it's going down, as well as your perspective.
It would appear to sink down in your field of view. That's perspective. The further away you get from it, the lower it will appear. It doesn't physically change its height, it just appears that way to your eyes, until eventually it will disappear behind the horizon formed by your eye's vanishing point. Your eye has an angular resolution of 0.2 degrees, and anything at that height will disappear beyond the limit of your sight. Many times we can see time-lapse footage of the sun that shows it getting smaller as it moves away from us. Now, that's not always the case, since the sun is travelling around the North Pole. The closer you are to the north, the less you'll see the size change. But from locations beyond the equator, you'll absolutely see the sun's size change. And that could never ever happen if the sun was 93 million miles away. You wouldn't see the sun change at all.
Our eyes cannot see farther than what they were designed to see. But that is no reason to keep them closed.
There's also an effect that occurs under certain conditions called atmospheric lensing, where the sheer amount of atmosphere, as well as the rain between you and the sun, acts like a lens and a prism, magnifying it greatly, which leads to another observational proof that the sun setting is an optical effect. At such times, when the sun is setting over the sea, and it seems as though it's half hidden by the horizon, then you can zoom in with a high-powered zoom camera and see that it's actually still above the horizon. It's just an optical illusion.
Pay attention to the sun rays here. This alone proves our local sun, and so do these shadows. So what about the moon? We all witness the moon only illuminating the local clouds around it. That is because it is also a local light, but one with opposite effects from the sun. As we can all agree, shade from the sun is cooler than direct sunlight. But did you know the moon's shade is actually warmer than direct moonlight? The moon produces cold light, something the science priests must have forgotten to teach us all about in school. Not only that, but at times we can see stars through the moon, proving it is not some solid rock 238,900 miles away. In the 60s, true science regarding the moon was the shadow band topic of its era.
I consider myself to be an ordinary, humble person who wants to serve mankind with what man has striven for from the beginning of consciousness, with truth and understanding of the world.
Well, now, one thing, you have a theory about the moon, and we expect to be able to get observable facts about the moon fairly soon. What is your theory?
Well, it is by now rather more than a theory. 10 or 11 years ago, I stated to various scientists that the moon is not a piece of rock, but it is plasma, cosmic plasma. Gravitational theories are out, and a new concept of the cosmos and of its laws has to be evolved. This fact will eventually be confirmed. I made certain predictions which were already confirmed in 1958, and the situation now is coming close to a complete confirmation.
What will be the result if you're proved to be correct in your theories?
The result will be profound and decisive. Because if the moon is a plasma, no man will ever land on it.
But the Americans and Russians are thinking of landing men on it.
Well, that will never happen.
People actually believe they walked on the moon, talked with Nixon, played golf, drove a car, and planted a flag.
If you really believe that Neil Armstrong took the first step, then why do you give any credit to the cameraman already there waiting for him?
These guys were all US military men coerced into acting. They wanted the money and power that came with the deal, of course. The problem was, they were terrible actors. They couldn't even pretend to be excited, knowing they were lying to the world. But the show had to go on. Michael Collins and Neil Armstrong rarely spoke in public about it, but there was one man not shy about lying to your face. The spokesperson for the Apollo deception.
It's my pleasure to present Colonel Edwin Aldrin.
No handshake, hug, smile. Their facial expressions are similar to those experiencing constipation, not celebrating an accomplishment.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with a great sense of pride as an American and with humility as a human being that I say to you today what no men have been privileged to say before. We walked on the moon.
I mean, they couldn't pay them enough to look up and smile?
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
After 50 years of lying to humanity and perpetrating this giant fraud, he's sick of the lie, and he had a moment of humility, and his conscience wouldn't let him lie to this little 8-year-old girl. This silly globe model with water magically attached to it, spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, shooting around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour, and rocketing through the universe at 500,000 miles an hour is just the goofiest, silly thing that I've ever heard in my life. They want you to think you're a monkey man, a purposeless accident created by nothing, that exploded from a big bang that was created not by scientists, by a priest, mind you, while they steal $58 million a day in taxpayers' money to show you cartoons. CGI. They just have to show you enough of Hollywood and magic tricks and for you to believe the nonsense. It shocks me how many people actually believe they're floating above our heads. It's all filmed here on Earth. Outer space is a fantasy.
Ask any airline pilot what the shape of the Earth is. When they're done laughing at you, they'll tell you it's a sphere.
That's not, and that, yeah, no, the ground looks to us like it's standing still.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
No.
No? What'd you see while we were up there?
Just the blue sky, white clouds.
Yeah, is it flat or?
Pretty flat.
Pretty flat?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I was reading a lot of stuff on the flat Earth.
Okay, yeah, true.
true. It's true? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
All
Hey,
right.
God bless, brother.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
Curvature? No.
No, there's no curvature?
It's just all flat.
Casey, how are you, mate? Pleased to meet you guys. There's no way there's curvature. We're random flat, aren't we?
Definitely.
We are, aren't we? Thank you.
Most pilots know their plane is flying over a plane. A stationary plane. Always a smooth and level flight. We never feel the plane dipping its nose down. We only feel the landing. Which flight route matches reality in your mind? If you chose the left, you may need medical attention. Everything beneath you while flying is level and motionless. Just as expected, flying over a stationary plane. Sometimes it's hard to see far ahead of you, but other times...
You could probably see the Rockies from Kansas.
Wow.
But here it's a clear day, but if it's smoky or hazy, obviously we can't see much.
The world is so generous in its beauty, and you do your best to take pictures of it. It's just flat and gorgeous.
Silly actor not, you took the words right out of my mouth. Earth is flat and gorgeous, but they trick you to believe something else. Not every pilot instantly connects the dots and keeps quiet. Sometimes it can hit them 25 years later.
Australië. En dat is, want dit ding behoudt zijn stand, dus dit blijft blauw en dit blijft bruin. Het is niet zo dat we opeens omklappen de verkeerde kant op. En dit was voor mij dat ik dacht, oh man, waarom heb ik dat nooit eerder gezien na 25 jaar in het cockpit? Dus zo geïndoctrineerd zijn we dus allemaal. Ja, het is toch, het is gewoon heel vervelend. Het is gewoon heel vervelend. Dat je daar al die jaren naar hebt gekeken en dat het kwartje nooit is gevallen. En ook zeg maar, toen ik eenmaal wist dat de aarde plat is, dat je naar buiten kijkt en dat je denkt, waarom heb ik nooit gezien hoe plat het eigenlijk is?
Better late than never. Most pilots may have skipped over their training manuals. In their Flight Dynamics Summary, Section 112 explains all you'll need to know about what you're flying over. Heck, the military knows the same thing. NASA admits it as well. In tons of documents available to the public. They just assumed nobody would pay attention.
This comes from the Army Research Laboratory. This one's from the CIA. There's another one from NASA. This report documents the definitions of linear aircraft model for the rigid aircraft of consistent mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. This comes right from our own government. Now I have available 44 documents. Who do I give them to, sir?
You give those to the city clerk, please.
Which is this person here. So what I want is a law that's passed that we can't teach anything about the globe, and we have to teach the truth of how things are.
From the documents to the imagery, they are not flying around a curve heading to outer space. They are flying over a stationary, flat plane. Stop falling for the illusions.